Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is ridiculous. First off, welcome to the class, everyone. Today we're going to be doing kind of a reaction slash theorycraft slash just this is insane video for the new GAC Omicron that is coming to the game for First Order TIE Pilot. Gosh, is this broken. And not only is it broken, but it fits into the game really well. So I guess that's the first thing that we're going to address here. So there are a lot of Omicrons, whether they be for GAC, TW, or TB, that are really good in theory, but you're never really going to be able to use them in practice. So we'll talk about this just briefly, but I think IPD is actually a really good example of this. IPD is for TB, so that's kind of a bummer in general. But his Omicron is actually super stinking good because he can self-destruct multiple times. He ignores taunt. He does a bunch of other stuff. Like, it just goes on and on and on, and it increases his damage, does a bunch of stuff, but he's in a really awkward position where if your account is so advanced that you have IPD, you probably don't need help in DSTB. And if your account is not enough to have IPD, and you probably do. So it's this really awkward stage where he's really never usable. And this just isn't true with First Order TIE Pilot. Oh my gosh. Okay, so no matter how you look at this, there are two perspectives. Either you run a super good, assuming you have SLKR, you run a super good decked out SLKR team and with crew and Hux and all those guys, and that's great. And then you have this leftover Phasma team. And even if you throw this on the leftover Phasma team, it's going to be great. It's going to require a much stronger counter. And number two, if you don't do that, if you're like me, I never run SLKR with First Order. I always run him in a very specific Night Sister Watt build to be able to take out Lord Vader. Yeah, I run him in more or less this squad right here. So I have all these really good First Order characters that aren't really doing a lot right now, like Crew, Hux, Lobster. All three of those guys are more or less free agents. I throw them on defense and then people bad batch them for 65. But this is a huge opportunity for me or anyone who else who runs that super SLKR team to have a large advantage. So I guess it's the first thing I really want to address. It's really good. It's really versatile. And I think it's really applicable. Like, you can use it in multiple areas without having to try to force it. Like, there's a few other good Omicrons out there, but you kind of have to force them into being useful. This one for me is just such a natural fit. But let's get into the specifics of what this does. I am going to read it, all of it, because it's just so good, and every single thing that it does has a consequence, a very good consequence. So just the Omicron description will start here. So 30% chance to gain foresight at the start of the encounter. All allies gain 50% max health. So actually I need to stop already. So before this, he had a 70% chance to gain foresight for 2 turns whenever they lose advantage. Now it's bumped up to 100%. This is important because this is unique. As unique, this is actually very good because that means you can use it across multiple squads. You can use it with crew lead, Hux lead, Phasma lead. Can't use it with SLKR because of how it's engineered, but that's okay. But that being said, since it's unique, you really, really, really need TIE Fighter Pilot to not die. Like, he really has to survive. First Order TIE Pilot, that is. So constantly having foresight is going to be a really, really nice thing that is going to be added onto his kit that is going to be a major, major help. So 100% chance to gain foresight. And then at the start of the encounter, all allies gain 50% max health. So at first, this just seems kind of good, and it is kind of good. But there are some really big ramifications when we look at this Omicron as a whole that are going to be significant. And the first one is freaking Crew, man. So Crew is already a character that loves a lot of health. He wants it definitely on all of his primaries. But I think what we could do is we can even change these out for health sets. And if you take him up to a higher relic, he should be able to tank some Ray Whirlwinds, which is huge. That is absolutely huge because that's one of the requirements to be able to take on a GL. So yeah, we're able to get him to 100,000 health before even changing those to health mods. And then he doesn't look like he gets a lot from everything else. Yeah, he just recovers it. So that 50 extra percent, that should get him really high on top of R8 or maybe R9, along with bumping these up the health sets. You should be able to tank a whirlwind at least a little bit, which is, again, basically what I'm getting at is this Omicron has potential to take out Galactic Legends. This very much seems like Qui-Gon Jinn 2.0, where they designed it, they made sure to put a Galactic Legend with it so that it wouldn't be too overpowered. But I see this ending a little poorly for CG. This is going to be so good. This is going to be so good. It's going to take us a while to figure out because we're in 3v3 right now. But coming back to this, yeah, the 50% health, that is a huge, huge change. So Foresight's good, 50% health's good. They have an extra 50% critical damage and 100 speed. So again, when you're looking at countering Galactic Legends or any other team really, when they have, I can't believe they made it 100. Like, it would have been good at 30. Hux has this nifty little ability and is unique where everyone, if you're all first order allies gain advantage for 2 turns at the start of the encounter. So your entire team is starting with a plus 100 speed on top of, let's say you're using crew lead, that's an extra 30. So my Hux, which is kind of average speed, is already going to be running over 400. And then if we're using crew lead, we're also going to be getting a ton of turn meter. And then the advantage just doesn't stop. Every time you hit crew, more advantage. Every time Sid Troopers cooldown refreshes for this ability right here, which is very often, everyone gets it again. It's just, it's so easy to get advantage back, especially if a team countering you. So yeah, 100 speed. The crit damage is nice, but 100 speed is 100 speed. Like, that is so stinking good. At the start of the round, if an ally doesn't have advantage, they have 100% tenacity until they gain an advantage. So I can't see a whole lot of practical use for this one, because I think, yeah, nothing really comes to mind. If anyone in the chat would like to enlighten me what this tenacity is for, that'd be great, because I can think of a few things, but like, it'd be nice to ignore JTR, but at the same time, JTR's exposes, those are going to be hitting you anyways. They're not reliant on tenacity or potency. Yeah, I'm not seeing, and like Bad Batch is another one. Like, if you don't start with the extra 100 speed, you're not really going to resist a whole lot against them just because they have so much potency, and a lot of Echo's debuffs are unresistible. So I don't get that a whole lot. But whenever an ally loses advantage, they recover 20% health and protection, which that is also a really big deal. Because First Order, and this is one of the reasons why SLKR, I've said in the past that he's not really that great for banner recovery on offense, because they essentially have no protection recovery. Like, they're really, really crap at protection recovery outside of like OG Kylo's, his special attack. But that's really good for banners, and it's also good from recovering from really big hits like a whirlwind from Rey or something of the sort. Whenever First Order type gains bonus turn meter, they gain advantage for 1 turn if they didn't already have it. And there's a lot of ways to gain bonus turn meter throughout the battle. Or not bonus turn meter. Yeah, sorry, bonus turn meter. Crew lead will do that a lot. I think Fox can do it. Xylo can do it. Whenever First Order TIE Pilot gains Foresight, all allies gain Foresight for 2 turns. Okay. Again, just really stinking nice. Like, the best defense is just to not be there. That is huge. So yeah, this is, I mean, I'm kind of freaking out over it right now, but this is a very, very, very good GAC Omicron. I would argue this is probably top tier immediately. Like, right in there with Iden, right in there with Qui-Gon Jinn, right in there with Wampa. It takes the team. The team was already okay-ish, like, without SLKR beforehand. But this is just monstrous. Like, of course, there's always gonna be the simple solution of taking in CLS, having Han shoot the First Order TIE Pilot right off the rip, and they lose all the bonuses. But I mean, you can only use CLS so many times. Yeah. So really stinking good. As soon as I have, this is awkward. As soon as I have the Omegas and the Zetas to get him his Zeta, and then go after the Omicron, I'm gonna put it on. I think we can even find a place for this for 3v3, because my only other Omicron choices right now are going to be both Malgus and Starkiller, and I'm just not quite prepped for them yet. So, yeah. It's going to be amazing. I guess for final comments here, we should probably talk about where I would intend on using them. So I think this is going to start off as a defense team, as most teams. If I can figure out a way to draw out CLS, probably putting gas in front of it, that'll do it. If they can lose CLS and then leave this maybe on the, I think almost back wall. I think almost back wall would be the proper place for this, because I can't really think of any other counter that would do. I guess GG probably has a good shot at this, but he's pretty easy to call out as well. But yeah, so maybe back wall. I think eventually this will go to offense, depending on how it was. I don't know how much my math is going to check out about Crew actually being able to tank a Whirlwind if this actually is going to have viability against Ray. But even if it doesn't have viability against Ray, Seed looks like a pretty darn good target too. Like, you can pretty easily manipulate who is going to link. You can probably pump up your protection enough on Hux and maybe even the Typo himself, so that Lobster and is constantly being able to I don't know, but I see potential of this beating a Galactic Legend on offense. So I think it'll eventually get moved to offense, but I think the team is going to be Hux lead. I think will be good in some circumstances. I think it will be good in some, but I think Crew lead is probably going to be the best overall, just because I mean, the Omicron is better than his leadership ability. It is significantly better than his leadership ability. But it's, if you put the two of them together, you get 130 speed right off the rip. So that's great. So Crew lead, Hux, the First Order TIE Pilot. I think the need for 2 tanks is going to start to go down. So I don't think First Order Stormtrooper is going to be in there. Also, First Order Executioner, don't think quite cuts it. He might. But yeah, so then you'll have the pilot. But I think Kylo Ren, we're going to want him in there, because with everybody gaining 400 speed, he's going to be able to constantly go and give everybody else turn meter and keep things going pretty much consistently. That, and on top of giving everyone foresight whenever there's someone who can give First Order TIE Pilot turn meter every single move. And then after that, yeah, so that's Crew, Hux, Lobster. Yeah, so I think it's already all... No, that's all 5 of them. That's all 5. And then Lobster's going to have to bring the pain. I'm going to have to really remod him, probably for a lot more offense than I have. I think I've got him slightly tanky to go with SLKR to defend against, what's-his-face, Giant Luke. But yeah, guys, tell me what you think. What teams do you think it'll be able to take out? What teams do you think it's going to hold against? I know, like, Bad Batch had First Order's number big time. I don't think they do after this. I think you could rip them apart before they even move. But yeah, really stinking cool, guys. Remember to like and subscribe. And as always, stay awesome.